Hi again, everyone. So we're having another chat with one of our sponsors, and today we have Ilana from Shopify with us. I'll just quickly ask her to introduce herself.
Hey, my name is Ilana Beer. I'm a front-end developer at Shopify. Shopify is a complete commerce platform that lets you start, grow, and manage your business. What that means is that for anyone who is interested in starting a business or already runs a business, our objective is to allow that person to focus on what they do best and for us to help them take care of all the complexities of running a business. We're based, or we were founded and based in Canada, although we've recently gone completely digital. So I guess technically we're based anywhere at this point. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm a front-end developer, specifically on our marketing team, and I work very closely with our UX designers and our content designers, or content strategists, as they were formerly known as well as our product teams and other developers, obviously, to better communicate what our product offering is and who we are as a company. So we're responsible for the content that you see directly on Shopify.com, as well as some other marketing properties.
Okay, interesting. Keeps you busy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
can you
there's a lot to tell. Oh, sorry.
right? Can you tell us about why the mission, vision, and values of the company speak to you personally?
Yeah. At a very high level, or as a basic mission, Shopify's mission is to make commerce better for everyone. I mean, I think that's great. I think that leveling the playing field and making it so that anyone who's good at something and has something to share with the world can do that is an amazing thing. And that really resonates with me because there have been times where I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if this existed, or like this would probably do really well, or like, even like, hey, I make a good cheesecake. Like, wouldn't it be fun if other people could have the same thing? And so you always, like, at least for me, I'd always get stuck thinking, I mean, that would be cool, but like, I wouldn't even know where to start. So whatever. And like, you kind of move on with your life. And I think the world would be a much better place if people didn't just move on with their lives and didn't just think, I wouldn't even know how to do that. But they could actually start a business with that and share their product or their ideas or their services with the world. And so the idea behind Shopify is to let people, as I mentioned, like focus on the thing that they do best. And for the challenges around managing a business and marketing that and getting your products online and finding people to buy it and actually getting that to your customers should be something that anyone can really do.
Yeah, I mean, I have doubled with the Shopify sites myself. I didn't really like launch it properly, to be honest. But it's very easy to set a shop up if you've got some good ideas or good products. Then yeah, it's easy, very easy to get set up. Um, okay, so what's your approach to innovation, and how is it unique in a sector that the company is in?
Yeah, I think a really good example of our approach to innovation is our recent change of to go digital by design. Um, I think that Shopify's done a really good job of making, in line with one of our core values, making great decisions quickly. I think that's something that has allowed us to stay on top of the game and really like experiment and challenge ourselves to see what we could do better without holding back on like, that would be a big decision, like, maybe later.
So again, speaking of innovation, what are you most excited about in terms of technology?
um, I mean, I think that there's like, at a very high level, there's a lot of really, really interesting things going on. I'm really excited to see virtual reality become a lot more, I guess, used in this sort of space. I've seen clips, and I mean, this technology is available right now. Like, and you can do this through Shopify, where we have merchants that can let you see through your phone whether your stroller would fit in the trunk of your car.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So this sort of thing, and I know like a lot of companies are experimenting with this, but I think from a selling approach, this is a really, really powerful tool. It's just unfortunately not so accessible to everyone right now. But I'd love to see this become a lot more, I guess, less of an edge case kind of like toy and more of a regular everyday occurrence. I
Yeah,
mean, like
like
who
part of the normal shopping experience, basically. Yeah.
exactly. And like who doesn't want to see what the couch would look like in their room by just taking out their phone and angling their camera there and like having a look at that. So I think that that sort of industry is really not industry, but that technology can really revolutionize the way that we shop, especially like now shopping online and at home so often.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to physical shops, some shops are still open, like although we're on lockdown. Yeah. I see like a lot of like QR codes, and it says if you want to try this shade of lipstick or something, just take a whatever scan that code and try. I haven't actually tried it, to be honest. But yeah, so it's basically the same thing, but we're basically bringing it to the virtual shopping experience. So it's very interesting. um yeah, I probably should try it out and see how good it is.
Yeah, but all these things they start out like even I remember trying Oculus when the first version was out, and it was really clunky. Like it was like you could kind of see the potential, but no one was really going to be using that unless they wanted to work on it and really like experiment with it. But it's really the early adopters who are picking it up. But that like kind of gives you a little peek of what the future could be like with that thing and technology advances and the things we get, the things we're developing become smaller and lighter and more refined until a point where anyone can use that thing. And so I think we're still at a place where it's still fairly early adoption, but I mean that sort of technology does work on a lot of people's phones right now, and so we're getting there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting world that we're in, the world of tech, because there's always something new to be excited about. So it's never, as I said earlier in one of the chats, it's never boring. At least for me, that's how I find tech. So even though I retired early, I actually made a point of staying in this world and getting involved somehow. By one, obviously, or organizing conferences like this. So I'm not like so far away from tech. um if you're allowed to talk about it, so what are some of the new projects or old projects that made sort of life exciting and interesting, work life exciting and interesting for you past few months?
Yeah, we underwent a project a little while ago to improve the way that we communicate and display parts of our product on Shopify.com. And Shopify is a company like you can open a Shopify store anywhere in the world, and so Shopify.com exists in many different languages and with many different feature sets depending on where you are. But that makes things really challenging because when you want to display like a screenshot of your product, the fact that our product is changing so often and that it looks so different in different languages and in different places would mean that for each of those pages, and in many cases, in many places on that same page, we might want to show different parts of the product. It would mean maintaining like many many different screenshots and likely updating them regularly or more likely missing them and having really old versions of our page and images on the site. And so we went through a really long exercise of finding ways to build like simplified versions of what our product looks like in those different cases in code and displaying them and actually making them show up as images. So for anyone familiar with front end and CSS, like you can size an image so that it shrinks and grows, including the text and everything. I mean, that's naturally how images work when the page shrinks, and it won't necessarily shrink with it like as you reduce the size of the page. But if you like get to a certain point where that container doesn't have any more space and it starts to shrink, your image will shrink appropriately. But when you write HTML and you have text, and if you use pixels or even percentages, like you can use sizing that matches to the viewport or to the size of your screen, but won't necessarily correspond exactly to the size of the container, because your screen can shrink and your container might be the same size. So we played around a lot with how to get that to, or get, how would I word this? Create a system so that anyone could easily build out parts of UI, but still get it to shrink and grow in a performant and simple way on the page. So we worked, and that was also a really fun project because we worked really closely with design and content as well. So I'm feeling good about that. We had fun.
That's good. And it sounds, really important as well, because with virtual shopping, people have to be seeing a lot of images, and they have to be seeing it, displayed correctly, right? Not cut off or anything like that, because otherwise they'll just leave. So I think that's like a very important project, right? Because it really looks after, users, shoppers.
Yeah, and to be like, this is people shopping for Shopify. So we want to display our own product and our own, like, when you're a merchant and you're online trying to add new products, like, you want to see what that's going to look like before
Yeah,
you invest your time and resources into setting that up.
into building your own shop.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned earlier, I studied business in university, and then really quickly after that pivoted. Long story short, I was hired as a recruiter for web developers, and then quickly turned over to the dark side. So I did a one-year program in college to study web development, and then I worked at a digital agency for 4 years, moved over to a smaller product company, and then stayed there for about a year, and then I joined Shopify.
Okay, interesting. And what have you like observed or learned uh, so far with regards to programs in terms of like diversity and inclusion in any of the companies really that you work for? Is there like active engagement from management from a previous company or current one? Yeah, you don't need to specify exactly, but just in general, have you seen a lot of programs being implemented to encourage more diversity and inclusion?
I think I've been very lucky and grateful to have fantastic mentors, both female and male, in my career. And I've been lucky to work at places that, whether by their own design or not, had a good, I mean, it wasn't a split, it very rarely like an even split, but very good split, like gender at least. And I know that there's been a lot of conversation in all places and intention to improve diversity. And there were programs. I think we were bringing on a good split. I mean, like, diversity obviously is not just like gender either.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many facets of diversity
Yeah, I
definitely.
yeah. I mean, I think it can always be better. And I mean, I used to like not think about it so much. I really didn't. Like, it really, people would be like, "Oh, what's it like being a woman in tech?" And I, like, my answer was legitimately, like, I get asked that question a lot more than men would. Like, like, and I had, like, it's really weird because I had this really minor like experience that had nothing to do with my career, where I went to Best Buy. I don't know. I mean, it had nothing to do with them really. I wanted to buy a video game for myself because I had liked this game years ago, and they had a new version that was supposed to be good. And I asked the employee working there if he could help me find it, because I'd like never go to Best Buy and I wouldn't even know where to look. And he showed me right away, and he's like, "Oh, is this for your brother?" And I was like, I was there alone, like no. And he's like, oh, like for your boyfriend? I'm like, no. And he just was like, oh, okay. And like, like it was meant to be an innocent question. And I bought it and I'm driving home and I'm thinking like, at first I'm thinking this is really funny. And then I started getting really upset about it. Like in this, like, I just like, I couldn't get over the fact that it meant that this person was never going to recommend video games as a gift for women ever. And it made me feel angry that there's this like perpetual kind of like underlying theme of like, maybe it just like goes back to kids, right? Like it's like everyone should have the same opportunities to enjoy the same things. And it made me really frustrated that there are some really fun video games, and a lot of young girls are never going to be given those games because no one will think that they'll like them. And so I kind of started thinking more and more about like the industry as a whole, and these conversations about diversity and how there's really, really, really subtle biases that people have. I mean, I'm sure I have them too. I've always felt that the companies are doing a good job. Yeah, it can always be better. It definitely can.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement with what, especially because this is not something that we were actively doing before, right? It's a learning process for everyone, I guess. But the important thing is we're doing something. I think that's the key, really. And yeah, in
Yeah,
terms of
and
gaming, it's really interesting, what you said, because there are a lot of women into gaming, right? And and obviously we've heard a lot of stories, before. And yeah, it's really sad that like women are being like put down, especially in the gaming industry, right? When we need them, to be a more, let's say, like out there, visible, so that they can actually inspire, as you were referring to the young girls of today, because they should be given the same opportunity as for sure, like their the boys, that they're sort of same age with, or are moving in the same circles with. So yeah, it's very interesting. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
also specifically to Shopify, we have the Dev Degree program, which I think relates well back to my story, in that we have a joint program with two universities in Canada for a degree that allows the students going through a computer science degree to also get like applied experience at Shopify and also continue on to a full-time role at the company. And we've committed to a 50-50 split in graduates, gender-wise, within that program. So there are definitely things I see in like, I guess, efforts that companies are making, specifically Shopify in this case, that I think will improve the future of this industry and technology as a whole.
That sounds like a really interesting program. And did you say it's with two universities in Toronto right now,
Yeah,
or?
yeah. So those students or the applicants to that program will apply for a computer science degree with that school, and also to us for that program, and they need to be accepted to both in order to be eligible for the program.
Is that like a 4-year program or a shorter one?
I believe it is. It's either 4 or 5, I think.
Right. So it's like a proper, proper degree. It's not just like a 1 year thing or a 2 year
Yeah,
thing.
no, it's a proper computer science degree.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on the 4 or 5 years, but it is a
Yeah,
full
don't
degree.
worry.
Like you get a bachelor of science with that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and it's an awesome program because I think what I was seeing when I was involved in the recruitment was that a lot of university programs weren't giving students enough actual like applied experience for a long time, and so you had really smart students being interviewed who really didn't know the basics of in specifically in web development, because that was the role I was interviewing for, who were still applying to it, and who, yeah, I mean, it's just like a small gap, but you don't know you have it when you're graduating from university either, right? So this is a really great way to introduce students, to give them like a leg up in learning what's like what actual work is like,
Yeah.
and what
We
give them an
actually
op.
have, there's actually one speaker in this conference who talks about the UK. I think they call it an apprenticeship degree or something like that. I mean, folks, check out that talk if you're interested in what the UK does in terms of this. But it's kind of similar. So she actually is with Airbus, completing a degree while working with them. So I think it's called an apprenticeship degree or something, which is great.
Yeah,
I think I like that because you're gaining work experience already while you're earning your degree, right? So
yeah.
I think it's perfect. Um,
I
yeah,
would 100% have taken a or applied to
yeah,
programs
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah. She's like being paid, as far as I know, like a proper employee while still
Yeah,
earning a degree at the same time. So I think that's a perfect, oh, like degree for me.
yeah. I would love to be paid to be in school as well.
Okay. So, are there any like maybe tips or advice you want to give women who wants to get into technology? I'm sure there are a lot of women who are considering maybe going into technology, especially with the experience that we've had, this past year or so, right? People are looking into technology career more. So, any like advice, tips that you want to give
Yeah,
them? Yeah.
I guess, I mean, speaking from my own experience, and drawing back from when I was first learning, don't be scared like that because you don't know anything, you can't do it. Like when I signed up for the 1 year program, I was really, even just to apply to the program, I was really intimidated by like, I fully expected everyone there to have like already been like technical in some way. And I mean, like, I thought I was technical. I just didn't, like, in a totally different way, right? Where like I was like, oh yeah, like my computer crashed, I can fix it instead of like calling someone, But like that's a totally different thing than like building a website. And so a lot of people I knew had like knew basics of HTML. I didn't, and I thought, oh no, like I'm gonna be so far behind in this program. But um, you like that's stuff that you can learn it from scratch. It's just scary because you don't know what you don't know at that point. And so I think that part of like not understanding anything, I mean, I think that's general advice for life too. Like I just replace, this is totally unrelated. I've replaced the bathtub drain in my bathtub because it was like leaking water, and I thought I'd have to call a plumber, and I ended up thinking, oh, like maybe I can do it myself. And you literally had to unscrew the thing. I almost called a plumber to unscrew a drain and screw another one back in because I thought I wouldn't know how it worked. So I think the same applies to a whole bunch of different things. And learning to code is a good example of that, where like you can learn, like, practice, try. And the other piece of that is that when you don't know what you don't know, it's really, really frustrating to get started because you'll get stuck on things and you don't have other things to draw from, to relate to. Like you don't even know what terms to be looking up.
Yeah.
And so I guess just like accept that, it's really frustrating, and you're like asking for help in those situations isn't cheating. I think it took me a really long time to like feel like I wasn't cheating on my assignments because I was asking people what they did, because you wouldn't know otherwise. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
that these like,
How would you how would you know? Yeah.
yeah, like
Uh,
I distinctly remember having a project where we had to build a calculator on a web page, and I did not know that you could take two variables and put a star behind them just to multiply. So I had no idea how to build a calculator. And someone showed me that. I was like, oh, so when you hit the star button, you would just like use like add a star between them in the code. And the person was like, yeah. And I was like, well, how was I supposed to know that? Like, because I didn't know what to be looking up at that point. Um, and so there's a like yeah, it will be really frustrating, and you'll feel like you don't know anything for a little bit. But if
Yeah,
you
I
if you
know,
build,
right?
like, just build those experiences, and you'll have more and more experiences, and will I guess, like, tools in your toolbox to refer to, and you'll feel that frustration less and less. You don't. I mean, I still feel
And
it
that
occasionally.
frustration, I mean, that frustration doesn't really go away, even if you're, a mid-level developer or a senior developer. A lot of, I mean, you just look at Twitter, right? There are so many like senior devs, men and women saying, "Oh, I still have to Google this every time I do this, although I've done it so many times." So it doesn't really, yeah, yeah. No one knows, all things. So yeah, it's always good to, yeah, it's a continuous learning process basically.
Oh yeah,
So even if, yeah,
I
there
Google
a lot.
really basic things like every day.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of devs do that, so it's really not a bad thing. And if you're right, even if you're feeling frustrated about it, just stick with it, because you'll eventually get comfortable with it. Yeah, and yeah, you'll never stop googling it probably anyway. So just, that's fine because everyone does it. So yeah, that's just not really a problem. Well, thanks, Ilana, for being with us today. And I thank you, Shopify, for being one of the supporters of this conference. And yeah, if you want to reach out to Ilana, are you on Twitter or LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. I
Yeah,
honestly use Twitter to, like, complain to companies, so don't don't share my Twitter. But
got it.
I do want to make one last mention. We have a big push to hire 2021 developers in
Hmm,
2021. So if anyone is looking for a job, we have jobs posted at shopify.com/careers.
okay,
Definitely apply and reach out. Yeah, we're this is a great place to work.
great. So did you say 2021?
Yeah,
Like
20, like
the 2000?
2021. Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
yeah.
That's
And
really good.
anywhere in the world, wherever you are.
All right, because you're all remote now, so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's actually wonderful. I'm really glad that that we, of course, having being in a pandemic is not nice, but it brought on some positive things, at least in terms of like realizing that we don't have to be at physical offices to be able to work, efficiently together with each other. So yeah, I think that's one positive thing that we we got out of this pandemic. And I'm sure a lot of companies are probably going to say, in this mode, remote, or maybe a hybrid, one. But no, it's good. I think for some people, it's really great for them to be able to work from home and balance, work and life. Some people, I think, need to be back at the office because they're just going stir crazy being at home. So yeah, it depends case to case, and if companies have got that opportunity to actually provide whichever environment works well for the person, then I think everyone should be doing that. Yeah, so is there a plan for Shopify employees, like, go back uh to physical offices, whenever we get out of this, or has your company been saying it's going to be all remote, or is it
So
hybrid?
the um, the plan is that, like, there is no office that we go to regularly.
Okay.
Um, we still do have offices, so I'm sure there will be some sort of use for them. I don't know what that will be at the moment, but they're like, the work week is generally at home, as far as it's designed to be right now. Um, and it's funny you say that, because I've always loved being in the office, and loved, like, I'm quite extroverted.
Mhm.
And so I think before this, I never would have thought that I'd be, like, okay with working from home.
Working from, yeah.
But I find, like, it actually, like, I still have a lot of chances to be social. Like, I used to join the office at tea time we had every Tuesday,
Hmm.
where a few of us got together in the kitchen and just drank tea, and, like, someone would bring a tea to sample. We still do it online, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's just as nice. I mean, maybe like no, it's not the same, but there's other parts of it that are
That's
even
right.
better.
Yeah.
Someone joined from a camping trip, and he like had the week off, and he's like, I'm here drinking my tea on my the campsite, you know. So um, it's cool like that. And I think a lot of the frustration with like not being in the office now is also it's really hard to separate from not seeing like your friends in general.
Yeah.
So I think like whenever I think, oh, I really miss being in the office, it's like I really just miss like being seeing people at all.
Exactly. The social part, not really
Yeah.
the work. Yeah, the work environment sort of, because you can do it from home, right? But yeah, I mean, yeah, I actually get you in terms of like finding that there is like some interesting and positive experience with being virtual as well, because I kind of feel that sometimes more and more now actually, now that we can like get out of this lockdown. I think I'm more sort of comfortable, with it now. And so I'm actually kind of worried sometimes because seem to not miss going out much. Well, that's like not me a few months ago. So yeah, it's been very interesting. But yeah, it's lovely talking to you, Ilana, and thank you for some of the like useful information about Shopify and about career and all that. And yes, so enjoy the rest of the conference. I hope you will check out the other talks. And folks who are watching, thank you again for joining us for this session. And yeah, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen, to you as well.
Thank you.